Welcome to another episode of the Sheng Show with Shanka Ponsley and
Andrea Ferguson.
today we will discuss a Sunday excursion, a Sunday, what should we call it, Andrea?
Extravaganza.
Yeah, something very, very fun that we did. We drove up to Castell, which is about 40 minutes north of Fredericksburg. So in total, about 2 hours from San Antonio up north. And we met a woman who asked us for our opinion on her property. Now, what really is interesting about this is how we met that person in the first place. And that was in a LinkedIn audio room that was hosted by Shanae, who lives in Florida. And that must have been several weeks ago, if not maybe a month or two. And I remember back then, this woman said, her name is Janice, she said, hey.
Actually, my middle name is Janice. Her name is Janice.
Oh, okay, so spelled the same, but the pronunciation is different. So Janice said, hey, you seem to know something about marketing, and I have my ranch here, and I want to learn how I could potentially market that. So why don't we put something on the calendar? And we both looked at our schedules, and yeah, it was what are we today? Or yeah, Sunday, December 18th is what we captured. So this morning I opened up my online calendar and saw, oh, we're supposed to go to Janice. And then I messaged her and she said, yep, it's still possible. And spontaneously Andrea and I said, okay, we're going to do that. So off of Turo, which is like an Airbnb for cars, we got a car with a combustion engine because ours is electric and is not really great to venture out in the hill country because you don't have many places to charge your car. So we got on Turo, spontaneously got us a car. It's $40 a day, and off we drove to Castell.
Yeah, before we talk about Castell, tell us a little bit about the Turo experience for those that have hesitations or still just like, what? I don't understand. I don't get that. How does that work?
Yeah, essentially it's people who want to rent out their car either by the day or for longer periods. You go on there and you enter the start and end date you desire for your car rental, or for the date range you need a car. And then it shows you cars in your area, all kinds of price points, everything from old affordable vehicles to new high-tech performance cars. And then you can either pick the car up at the owner's location, or you can meet at the airport and pick it up there, or some cars even have a drop-off feature where you pay a delivery fee and then someone brings you the car straight to your door. So as you would imagine, it has profiles with pictures and reviews and features of the car. And yeah, it's, again, like I said, an Airbnb for cars. You don't rent locations, you rent cars. Very, very handy, much easier and faster than your traditional car rental place.
So do you recommend it?
Yeah, I do recommend it. We use it often, and it's also a business opportunity as well. And I'm actually playing with the idea of getting us a gas-driven car.
Woohoo!
And then, we wouldn't need it very often, but we could rent it out on Turo and basically have the note covered by the rental income. And I'm thinking about getting us something fancy, either like a Range Rover or a Lamborghini SUV, or maybe like a sports car. I don't know yet. We'll have to see, do a market analysis, what gets booked often and is a good.
Those of you who are listening, what kind of car do you want to rent? Not what kind of car should we get, because y'all are gonna say sports cars or like four-wheel, whatever. But what would you rent, like, and why? Do you have a preference? Is there something that you're looking for? Curious to know.
Yeah, well, that depends a lot on what your purpose is and how large your party is.
Tell us what your purpose is and your party is. Like, what would you mostly use it for? We want to know. All right, back to the initial subject at hand, the trip to Castell, which there's a little bit of a background to Castell that I did not know about. Do you want to tell us about that?
Well, I mean, so we drive up to Castell, Texas, which again is a 2-hour drive from San Antonio. And as we get closer to the ranch, the roads get a little rugged. There was actually at some point no pavement, and it was really literally a country road, a dirt road, and which is all fine. It was still drivable. And what was very interesting is the village that was basically the last village before we entered off-road terrain, if you will, called Lano. And there were 2 stores. One was called the General Store, and the other one I forget, but I think it was more like a post office kind of store. But the General Store literally looked like you were stuck in past times. I mean, this could have been in the 40s or 50s. Looks the same, and yeah, very interesting to. I think you took a video clip of it, Andrea, which we can blend in here right now if we think about it. If you see it, we thought about it, and yeah. So then we drove up to the property, and the ranch looked I don't know, just like a normal country ranch. And when we were greeted by the owner, Janice, and we went inside, I actually liked the vibe of the place because it was, well, I'm going to let you explain that, because she also explained to us why she was there in the first place, and it had to do with her family basically going way back, coming from the city of Castell in Germany, which Castell in Germany is written with a K, and it actually is a derivative of the French word chateau. So Castell means is making it's a small castle. It's the German word for small castle, but a derivative of chateau.
And speaking of German, we found out very interesting history for Janice. Her family came to Castell in 1848. So how cool is that?
Yeah.
And the property that belongs to them is from the original family that came, which I just found that to be fascinating, because think about that. That's like nearly 200 years of your family. Like, I don't know anybody. I'm sure there are people out there that exist. And if you know your origin story, like your origin, not like you, but I mean your family, from whence they come, and you can trace it back that far to actually staying in the same location for that long, we would love to hear about it. Love those stories. include, migration, immigration stories. Those are pretty cool too. But to have the property in your possession in your home and for that long, it couldn't have been easy for sure. But it's a lot of land, and as we have learned from our friends that have property, it is faux pas to say how much property in the number of acres, but we'll just say that it's quite a bit of land, and there is just so much magic and so much history that's in the walls of this place. You know that. So, well, having the property and making, like, building on the property is a different thing, right? So I think she said that it was 2008 when she completed making her home, but it's still just like the birthplace of that is pretty amazing. And there must have been quite a bit of excavation and building roads and managing all of that stuff. And she, like me, if I were her, doesn't have any animals, because farmland, just tending to all of that is quite a bit to deal with. But in the inside, like Shankar was saying, you can picture like colorfully painted wall with the stairwell going up on both sides of the house, actually, one leading to, I believe, her office and the other to a bedroom, with a bedroom on every corner that you could turn. But there's also a room that she has that has a glass ceiling and a very large glass wall and a very large open bathtub with, I think, stone type things. And it's just it's a very peculiar, quaint place, I would say, where, things that are built ground up and that aren't like mass produced are always just interesting because it's unique. And I think that there must have been an incredible history there. Also, just in bringing up your family, raising a family in that place where it's pretty secluded and probably, everyone knows everyone. And yeah, that's how I would describe it.
Yeah, I mean, it was nice. She had all the pictures of her life achievements on the wall, her kids, her husband, and also all the documents, the original documents of the land ownership. That was pretty neat. And anyway, the purpose of us going there was she wanted to have a chat with us about how she can monetize this property, because it's, as we mentioned, pretty far away from a lot of, like, the closest village is even a 5-6 minute drive, but that's really a tiny village. The next bigger city is Fredericksburg, and that's a 45-minute drive. So she wanted to pick our brain on how to monetize that land that she owns. And there were different ways to go about it, and I don't think I want to go too much into the women's business here, but what it always boiled down to: you have to market your idea, of course, and you have to produce content to do so. You have to create attention online or even offline if you wanted to do that. But in this case, online would have been an opportunity to go beyond the physical boundaries of where she could move. And we discussed all the options and discussed the fact that you can, just by kind of attaching your passion to a location, you can, in very interesting ways, monetize any location, really. But you have to be creative, and you have to have a skill set, and you have to know how to bring attention to your person and your life. And we showed her this example of this
Turkey Ridge.
what?
Turkey Ridge
Turkey Ridge?
for your turkey butt.
Oh.
I'll crop this out.
No, keep it in. Andrea likes to call me a turkey butt, so and everybody should know that.
Just checking to see that you're awake here.
So, so we gave her this example of this guy that lives on a ranch too, and he speaks to his chicken and geese and pigs, and he does that with a southern drawl and southern speaking style, and from doing so he has like gathered 2.9 million, I think, followers on TikTok, and he monetizes that account by selling candles and merchandise, and also he's a photographer, so he does boudoir photography, and women from all over the nation fly into his location versus him having to go somewhere to find business. They come to him. So we told Janice that whatever she intends to do with the property and monetize it, it probably will have to do with creating, again, finding something that's an idea that she's passionate about and also talented around, because just like this photographer, I suppose is actually a good photographer and has good results. So and that's basically what we kept it at that. It was a consulting session, if you will, an out call in person consulting session, and gave her a good amount of ideas, and she's gonna take her time and think everything through, and then maybe go with one of the ideas that we came up with together. But all in all, a great experience, a spontaneous ride into the hill country, and just like several people, by several people I mean Andrea, her, and myself, not being overly paranoid or anything, and seeing danger behind every corner, is literally strangers meeting up somewhere and talking about life and business. So it was really good. And what I liked is that she told us about all her travels, and like so often we agreed that nothing can really replace Texas. It's like Texas is Texas. And I just noticed that last week when I was in Bali, which is of course paradise, but there's something about the infrastructure here and the amenities and just the established things that you shouldn't, I'm not taking it for granted, but you maybe could run the risk of taking these things for granted, which again I'm not doing.
I know what you mean. It just feels like this is the standard of living that is everywhere, right?
What?
Like, you could easily feel like this is a standard of living everywhere. Like, just make the assumption, right?
Yeah, but it isn't. I mean, it's not even within the US. You don't have what we have in Texas everywhere. I mean, and that of course comes with a certain hospitality and a certain mindset. I mean, just the fact that Texans are united in their patriotism, and that's a beautiful thing, to be part of that, to be adopted into that. And yeah, that was also something we shared with that person today.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Hope that you can relate to a little bit of this. Maybe you have a story of how you have decided to stay or go from your property, or where you are, where you're living. What influenced you? What was going through your mind when you were making these decisions? We'd like to know. I think I'm certainly happy to have you back, Shankar, and I think everybody else is too. Texas missed you. It is not the same without you. But you know what? We should tell our listeners what's happening next week. Are we staying in Texas?
Oh no, we're going away again.
Where are we going?
We're going to Amsterdam in the Netherlands, and my mother has a nice apartment there, right on the River Eye, and it's a beautiful location. We're gonna spend the holidays with her.
So this will be my first time to the Netherlands, and it will be my first time back to Europe in 4 years. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm not going to lie, I am not looking forward to the cold at all. But I am looking forward to shopping for winter clothes before we go. Didn't know that was coming, did you?
No, I had no idea.
So let us know what your plans are for the winter. We'd love to hear it. And we will see you next time on The Shank Show. Thanks for tuning in. Talk to you later. Bye bye.
Bye, and go to Shanghai.